Say, for instance, you've lost somebody who was very dear to you, maybe your child. There's a sense of sadness at the core. Then over time you develop a coping emotion, which might be anger, say anger for example. Anger with life, why did this happen to me? Anger with God, this shouldn't have happened to me, I've done nothing wrong, etc. etc. So these are inherent mechanisms to the process of trauma. And you have to address that, again, on the cognitive side. You have to explain the mechanism to people, why they do what they do, and also to help them to start to own that, the whole process, to own their guilt, blame or self-reproach to start with, and then slowly bring them from the outside more towards the inside, working with their coping emotion to get a sense of boundaries around that, be able to feel that in the body so they possess it, they can start processing it. And then slowly on, once you work with these defensive mechanisms, with the resistances, at some point you'll start getting into that core emotion. You'll start getting into the helplessness and the overwhelm. And the more you go from the outside towards the inside, people start putting all the puzzles back together. They'll start seeing the red line, the patterns in their lives, how they've repeated patterns, and how these emotions are working for them. You might have several experiences. You might have lost somebody when you're 10 years old. Then you've also been, there's a sense of misattunement from your parents, or you've been neglected. So you might have this model overlapping in different phases of your life. So you might have developmental issues where you're suffering from neglect. There's anger at the core, and there's anxiety as a coping emotion. But then when you lose somebody later in life, say your grandfather, you might have as a core emotion sadness, and as a coping emotion also anger. So when people come to me and they present their case, you might pick up different things, and it's important, the more you start working with them, to see that, okay, you can have different layers of emotion at play, and what relates to what. And also for the therapist, for me it's very important to see what belongs to what hangs together with what. Because patients will go from one thing to the other, and you have to stop them sometimes to give them boundaries and say, okay, hold on, we're working with this team, let's go into that first. Let's describe the core emotion, or let's get clear about your core emotion related to what we're working on, and what's your coping emotion related to that, and to finish that, and then see, okay, let's look at some developmental issues now and see what kind of emotions are at play there. What is your coping emotion, what's your core emotion, and maybe also see where they're overlapping each other. I'm helping you to process. You're doing the work, and you have to be engaged to do the work. You have to be interested to do the work, because it's not just me who's doing it. It's our connection that we have. It's your interest to work, and it's my interest to work with you that makes the connection, and makes us create an environment where you can unfold, where you can heal, where you can process, where you get to know yourself, where your attention is with awareness rather than being in the overwhelming experience over and over again.